Hello and welcome back to the latest episode in our series regarding the laws of the game. We have now reached, I'm Craig Anderson and I'm joined by Euan Taylor.
Hello.
We have now reached Law 8, the start and restart of play. Now, those of you who are watching on YouTube will see that there are only indeed 2 subsections of this law, so it might again be one that doesn't take us very long, but there's a lot. I guess there are actually quite a few things related to how play is supposed to restart and where people are supposed to be. And as we discovered, or as I discovered even myself very recently, there are little hidden pieces of glossary information about what actually constitutes where players should be for these, and we'll talk about that as well. So it might be news to some listeners that both halves of a match, both halves of extra time, and after a goal has been scored, play is restarted with what is called a kick-off. And that's where players kick the ball to start the game. But other restarts are free kicks, penalties, throw-ins, goal kicks, and corner kicks. And a dropped ball is the final sort of restart that can be used. So that's different ways that play will restart. And
that's changed. I suppose that I just remember from when I first started playing 11s, which at a ridiculously young age of like 7, ruined me as a player. Obviously, otherwise I'd be come to the end of my professional career right now. But yeah, the ball had to go forward, obviously.
Yes, that's right.
From kickoff, and now it doesn't. And I didn't know that. Having watched the amount of football I'd watched at that stage, I'd never really noticed that the ball. And I remember taking a kickoff and instantly getting like a foul given against me, or having been told to retake it by like a job's worth referee.
Yeah, I've always thought that was a slightly odd one. And something that's crucial, like if an offence occurs while the ball is not in play, that doesn't change how play is restarted. I always remember listening on the radio to Victoria Zizkov versus Rangers, one that you might remember, Euan, who beat Rangers in the UEFA Cup, and it was in extra time, I think, and there was Rangers had a corner and there was an incident in the box where I think a Zizkov player got sent off even for maybe violent conduct, potentially, and the commentators were getting really excited because they thought Rangers were going to get a penalty, but the corner hadn't been taken yet, so it was just like, okay, you get off, but it's still a corner, which is indeed the laws as they are. And there have been many more incidents like that. If something happens while the ball's not in play, players can get cards, etc., but the restart's not going to change. Which brings us to the kickoff. At the very start of the game, the referee will toss the coin, and the team that wins the toss decides which way they're shooting or to whether to take the kickoff. That's changed back and forward. It used to be you could either choose to have the kickoff or which way you were shooting. For a wee while, they dropped the taking the kickoff part, and it was just which way you shot, and the other team got the kickoff or something like that. And then they've come back in to say you can actually choose whether to take the kickoff or not.
I always think that's an underused. I don't know if it's like a sort of gentlemanly thing that clubs don't like to do it, but just purely through sort of like trying to unsettle an opponent. I always think an away team should obviously, home teams always have a way that they would like to shoot into in the second half. I always think, why don't you just force them to do it the other way around? You very rarely see it.
I think it's been done 3 times to Kelly this season. Now one of them was Livingston did it because the sun was like coming in. Right. So like, which I think is like a more less mind games and more. Although the funniest thing was literally as soon, so they had Will Dennis like looking into the sun basically for the first half. Literally about 30 seconds after the game kicked off, these massive clouds rolled across, and then there was no sun at all. But it's happened a couple of times. But Kelly have a 100% record when being switched round this season, so maybe not worth doing to us. But yeah, it is notable to that. Obviously, the team that kicks off in the first half doesn't then kick off in the second half. As a referee, I was always petrified that I was going to forget. They will sometimes write it down or something, or you're trying to remember, but it's like one of those things you would never think, oh, I'm going to make a note of this.
Yeah.
And the players will typically know, but like if there was a lot of goals scored, you might like second guess yourself. I would not be surprised if there have been even Scottish top flight matches where a team has kicked off twice. Probably not in the last 10 years, but I reckon if you go back to the 90s, I bet you could find one where it happened, and nobody would notice. And yeah, team swap sides in the second half as well. Good. Yeah, so this comes into what you were talking about, and it was always, and this is why the rule was changing. It was a rule that was changed that actually made sense for the reason that they decided every player has to be in their own half at a kickoff, and obviously the opposing team also have to be 10 yards from the ball, which is indicated by the big centre circle. That's what it's for. And it used to be that everyone had to be behind the ball, but the ball had to go forwards. Which is odd, obviously, because then
had to move into the half to
So and I mean, what happened in practice is nobody, unless it was your job's worth cared, then it would either get passed backwards or the player who was receiving it would be kind of allowed to have a foot in the other half to take it. The referee has to give a signal to start the game, because I think this is the crucial exception between some restarts. Pretty much kickoffs and free kicks, the referee will be expected to give a signal. For things like throw-ins and even like corners and goal kicks, the signal's often implicit. So, if it's a throw-in, you can't just pick the ball up and throw unless the referee tells you otherwise. For the kickoff, it has to actually be a whistle. And that whistle to take kickoff, I would say, has taken on massively increased significance in recent years with VAR. Because it's like, to me, it's always the signal like, oh yeah, that goal does actually count. Like you're never that sure up until that's happened. And yeah, the ball's in play when it's kicked and clearly moved. Again, that's something that's changed. It used to be it had to roll a circumference and stuff like that. Now it's basically just if it's kicked and it moves. And you can score direct from a kickoff if you wish. So you can just literally run up and belt it into the net. No one else has to touch it. If you take a kickoff directly into your own goal, then it's a corner.
Yeah.
You can't
score your own goal directly.
I feel like end of season game, someone should just do it for a laugh. Just because the crowd would be baffled. But yeah, if you put a corner. One of these ones that doesn't make a great deal of sense, but yeah, you can't score direct into your own goal from a kickoff. Yeah, if you get almost any of those things wrong, then i.e. you're in the wrong half or you do something else wrong, then it'll get retaken. But if the player who's taken the kickoff touches the ball twice, then it's an indirect free kick to the other team. I think the main reason this could happen would be if the guy who was trying to pass it to was like sleeping and it went away from him, and then the guy who's taking it like runs after it to stop an opposing player getting the ball and just kicks it again, then it would be an indirect free kick. Or if it's a handball offence, so if they bend down and pick it up, presumably, then that would be a direct free kick. It's usually an indirect. The kick-off, very interesting. The other start and restart of play is a drop ball. The drop balls used to be much more interesting than they are now, because drop balls used to be competed. Interesting for spectators, terrifying for a referee. I had to do a drop ball. You have no like you're supposed to be dropping the ball, but you're also kind of like, I don't want to be any part of this. It was, because they're both basically trying to kick a moving ball, and you're thinking like, I need to get out of the way so that if they do kick this, it's not going to immediately deflect off me and then I have to take another drop ball. So for as much as I think everyone loved a good old fashioned drop ball, like you can understand why the rules are how they are, even though there's a couple of aspects of it that I think are a bit unfair now. And specifically that is so drop ball will obviously just be when play is stopped by the referee for any reason that isn't a corner, a throw in, a goal kick, etc. It's just like, for example, someone runs on the park, a spectator runs on the park and they have to stop the game. A dog is on the park and they have to stop the game, whatever it may be. Play stop for an injury, whatever it is. If the ball is in the penalty area or the last touch of the ball was in the penalty area, then it is always dropped to the defending goalkeeper. So that one I find it can be a bit. You can understand why, because they don't want to be giving uncontested drop balls to the attacking team inside the opposing goal penalty area.
Yeah.
I can understand that, but there was one in an Old Firm game last season, I want to say, where Celtic were on the attack a little bit, but they were inside Rangers box and there was someone down injured with like a head knock, and the drop ball got given. Oh no, am I right? Am I actually?
No, the
like,
drop ball Rangers got the ball, I remember, and then it was added to the conspiracy pile.
Yes.
And there's actually a couple of examples more recently when Rangers played Hibs. David Dickinson was the referee, and basically it happened a couple of times, and the Ibrox crowd was going absolutely bananas, and whereas it was correct refereeing, but just like it does, I don't know. Well, one, it's easy to game that as a defending team because if you just go down in the box, then it means like a second wave of attack will quite often get stopped, and it also feels like quite often the referees will wait until the ball goes into the box before they then blow up to stop the play, which means then you lose the ball, which doesn't seem doesn't seem fair. So I do wonder if that law is going to get tweaked slightly, because it feels like it's starting to get gamed a bit. I think
you could just drop the ball to the attacking team at like the halfway line or something there. Do you know what I mean? Like you've still got the ball, but you're not. Clearly, yes, taking a drop ball 10 yards from goal might be suboptimal. But I agree with you on that, and it's that aspect of it. In all other cases, the referee drops the team for a player of the team that last touched the ball at the position where it last touched a player, basically, or if it hits a referee. I also find that that's broadly mainly fine if a team's passing the ball about and there's a drop ball. However, occasionally it is like a team's just giving the ball away very clearly, and then it gets stopped, but because they last touched the ball, or the attacking team has, for example, played a crossfield pass, it's like deflected off an opponent's knee as it's been going, and because they were the last one who touched it. So again, the challenge is trying to define what, because you could say to the team who had possession of the ball, but it's challenging to define possession. But I think referees probably need to use a wee bit of discretion in how they implement that to make sure that they for example, hold the whistle until the guy who's receiving the ball touches it, to make sure they can then get that drop ball. But because it's the frustrating aspect of it from that point of view.
Yeah, there's that Liverpool Notts Forest example recently as well. But I think it was the referee gave the drop ball the wrong way, I believe, and then Liverpool scored in injury time. But there's one of those where like Nottingham Forest completely lost the plot about it, about a drop ball given to, I think it was like to Liverpool's keeper. I think, if I recall correctly, and it's like, and that was responsible for the goal. It's like, well, it was at the literally other end of the park, and then Liverpool went up the field and scored. So I'm not sure how directly the correlation was.
That always feels like just like it's like when a throw-in gets given the wrong way 90 yards from goal. It's like, I don't think that throw-in is necessarily the primary cause. The actual incident of a drop ball used to obviously be more interesting, as I discussed earlier, but now it's everyone apart from the player who it's been dropped to has to be at least 4 meters from the ball, or 4.5 yards. A very specific and weird number to pick, but because it's not in line with any of the other numbers in the laws of the game. But nonetheless, you've got to be 4.5 yards from the ball while it's been dropped, and you can't go within that until it's in play, and it's only in play when it touches the ground. So you can't go within 4.5 yards of the opposing player until the ball hits the ground. Because that used to be a thing with drop balls as well, where the referee would take a drop ball and the guy would like volley it, and then he'd have to take the drop ball again. Obviously, it doesn't happen so much now, apart from if the attacking player's been stupid. But yeah, drop balls, a great laugh. The drop ball has to be retaken if someone touches it before it touches the ground, or if it leaves the field of play without touching a player. Obviously, less likely to happen, or close to impossible happening unless it's very windy, I suppose. If a drop ball enters a goal without touching at least 2 players, plays restarted with a goal kick or a corner kick, depending on who touched it last. So That's basically saying you can't score direct from a drop ball, which again used to be that you could, and there obviously had been several famous incidents of players accidentally trying to give the ball back to the opposing goalkeeper from a drop ball and it going in, and then we obviously had these kind of ludicrous goalkeeper being allowed or attacking player being allowed to walk the length of the park, and I would not have allowed it unless it was a goalkeeper, which it was a couple of times, but it was like letting someone just kind of walk it in. So they tweaked that so that it has to be two players that touch it, i.e. the first guy can't just score. If you put it in the opponent's goal, it's a goal kick. If you put it in your own goal, it's a corner. So that brings us to the end of that one in terms of those, because each of the other types of restart that we talk about, free kicks and throw-ins and all that, have their own laws, and those will be coming up soon. So I'll run you through to round this law off, Euan, some FAQs. We'll start with a nice easy one. Players restarted with a drop ball for Team A and a player kicks the ball before it touches the ground. Is this allowed?
No.
And what should the referee do?
He should take the drop ball again.
That is correct. Okay, let's go with this one because it sounds weird. After a goal kick has been taken by the goalkeeper, the ball touches the referee outside the penalty area, remains in the field of play and bounces back towards the goal. The goalkeeper handles the ball to prevent it from entering the goal. What is the correct decision?
So a goal kick's been taken, ball hits the referee, bounces back, and the goalkeeper handles it. Be a drop ball where it hits the referee.
Right? Wrong one. It's a goal. Yeah, it's a drop ball to the goalkeeper's point, but at the point where it touched the referee. I actually realised I don't think we specifics. I think it's actually in the next law, or in one of the previous laws. But if the ball touched, it used to be that it didn't matter what happened. If the ball hit the referee, it was still in play.
Yeah.
And there was an incident, I want to say, from Netherlands where like the ball deflected in off the referee, and that was a goal. Not ideal.
That happened here.
Yes. So, I mean, there is basically next to no excuse for the referee ever being that close that it should happen. But I bet it could in some weird situation. I mean, I can imagine. I mean, a long distance shot, just like skating off him and taking a big deflection in, is always a risk. But now you can't score off the referee, but also if the ball hits the ref and changes possession, then it's a drop ball. If the ball hits if the ball hits the referee and goes to the team who had the ball anyway, then it can play on almost like an advantage, but not. But yeah, if the ball hits the ref, then it's all pretty much going to be a drop ball in that situation. And there, the point would be in that case that because yes, there was an offence committed, but the offence was committed because the referee kind of got involved, then it would be that. The player who is taking the kick-off kicks the ball before the referee gives the signal. What's the correct decision?
That could be an indirect free kick.
Yeah, I think that's just take the kick-off again.
Or take the kick-off again.
It's only if they kick the ball twice that's an indirect free kick.
Wow.
Let's see what else. Have we got anything else? While the ball is... Sorry?
I was just I was thinking about. I quite like the thinking about if somebody needs to stay you need to stay 4 meters back. But if you do it like a run up, if you were just steaming in, then you could be 4 meters away as the ball hits the ground, or when the ball leaves the referee's hands, presumably.
No, it's when it hits the ground. That's
when
when
it hits
it's
the
in
ground.
play.
Right? Okay, right. So you'd probably struggle to make 4 meters up in the time before it bounces. By the time it bounces, and somebody then can.
You could definitely clatter someone though.
Yes, you could definitely clatter someone.
Probably the referee.
Yeah. Probably, yeah.
While the ball is in play, a substitute strikes a substitute from the same team outside the field of play. How this play restarted? I don't think this is covered at all in what we've just talked about, but give me a guess.
Well, that would be presumably. So I don't think it would be a free kick. So I would think that would be just a drop ball, whoever touched, so irrelevant to sort of the play. Obviously, you're going to send the substitute off, but then you would just start with a drop ball, presumably.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what happened. Also, we just had a substitute sent off at the weekend there. Tete
Yes.
Yengi, some very officiating from Colin Stephen in that. But I don't know if the play, because it was a fair bit after the sub had been made. So I don't know if play had restarted. But the time didn't. I'm just going from sports scene, but I don't know if play had restarted. But I suppose that'd be the same exact
yeah.
principle.
If the referee has to stop the game to do something like that, then it will typically be a drop ball. I think if the referee has to stop a game to penalise someone who's on the park for something, then it can be an indirect free kick. So I remember having to, like, someone giving me verbals while the game was pouring on up the park, and I had to stop the game to give them a yellow card, and that was like an indirect free kick to the other team, like from where it happened. I think we'll get onto that because it might have changed, but usually if it's an incident like that, I don't know if the referee could play advantage if two subs are slogging it out on the touchline. Probably not, but they could pretend not to see it. Certainly. This is one that's relevant to that weird thing that happened in the 2018 World Cup where teams started to try and do this. May the referee allow a kick-off after a goal was scored when players of the scoring team are off the field celebrating?
Did they change the rule to say no, or can you? Because there was I do remember that happening.
It happened, but it wasn't allowed. It was never. It was never allowed. But England tried it against Croatia in the World Cup semi-final, I think, where because I think Panama had done it against England and not been allowed to do it, and then these things sometimes people get mixed up. Would be my main thing, but the law clearly states that for every kickoff, all players except the player taking the kickoff must be in their own half. So if you're not in your own half, the game can't kick off.
Can't start, right?
But there are. I'm now wanting to say that actually what happened, like someone shared, it was like a Twitter thread someone shared that was completely false. That basically, like, if everyone was off the pitch, then it was fine. But so to prevent this, one of the attacking players had like stood on the pitch to make sure that they were on the pitch. During a celebration. It was complete bollocks. Like maybe the player that was doing it thought he was doing it, but
But you just got that from.
If they were I
remember that as well. Yeah.
If they were all somehow, say the goal had been scored and they all ran back to celebrate with their goalkeeper who had perhaps just saved a penalty a minute earlier, and they were all on a big pile at the corner flag in their own half celebrating with each other, then play could restart then if the referee blew the whistle, but not with them all off the pitch somewhere.
Or if you scored from your own half.
Oh yeah, good. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a better one, isn't it? You're better than me at this, Euan.
Yeah, right. I still feel I could only remember that once when, for an Rangers perspective, when Roof did it, and then he ran the whole length of the park. Anyway,
forwards
towards the goal. So yeah.
I was about to say you've got a lead to defend, but not really. That was they went 3-1 up with that or 2-0, so it didn't really matter. But I was like, surely you want to be running towards your own goal just to make sure you can do your defending duties. Right. What else? We'll do one more. After a goal kick has been taken by Team A, the ball touches the referee outside the penalty area, remains on the field, and the opponents gain possession of the ball. The referee stops play and awards a drop ball to Team A. Where should the drop ball be taken?
Where it hit the referee? Because it was outside the penalty area? Yes,
where it touched the referee. Perfect. So I think you covered yourself in real glory there, Euan, with your answering. That was some strong performances there, and that has brought us to the end of Law 8. And I think if I'm correct in saying, I think Law 8 is the last one that's kind of generic. Or there's a couple more generic ones coming up, but after that we're on to the big boys: offside, fouls, free kicks, penalty kicks, etc. These are all the introductory laws. There are probably 10 that are as such, and we've done 8 of them now. But thank you again for joining us for this podcast, and join us again for Law 9.